of strategic bombing began in World War II. Unlike tactical or attack bombers, strategic bombers are used to take out high-value enemy targets, including infrastructure, logistics, and military installations. This concept was developed through trial and error by the U.S. Army Air Forces using the B-17 and B-24 bombers against the German forces from 1943 to 1945. This later evolved into the theory of daylight precision bombing. The theory rejected the strategy of bombing broad areas and focused on specific targets of military significance. A benefit of precision bombing is avoiding civilian casualties and limiting collateral damage. The B-29 Superfortress would become one of the first aircraft to utilize this strategy. The development of the B-29, with its increased range and ability to carry nuclear weapons, helped bring about the end of World War II when it was used in the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The B-29 returned to combat during the conflict in Korea in June 1950. Classification of strategic bombers depends on several factors, including the aircraft's size, range, and load-carrying ability. After World War II, the Air Force needed a strategic bomber with intercontinental range, so they contracted Consolidated Vultee to design the B-36 Peacemaker. In 1946, the aircraft started to be used in many different ways.
The B-36, the first genuine intercontinental bomber.
Some B-36s served as photographic reconnaissance aircraft, and others were adapted to launch and retrieve specially modified reconnaissance planes. The B-36 is powered by 6 Pratt & Whitney engines with a maximum speed of 435 miles per hour, and it carried 86,000 pounds of nuclear or conventional bombs. Although the bomber never saw combat or dropped bombs on an enemy target, its role as a reconnaissance aircraft and strategic messaging tool was vital to the success of the Cold War. The B-47 Stratojet was built to replace the aging B-36, which had since become obsolete. The B-47 has a turbojet engine designed to fly at high speeds and altitudes, avoiding interceptor aircraft. It incorporated many advanced features for the time, including swept wings, jet engines and underwing pods, and automated systems that reduced the crew size to 3.
3 people who will make this piece of machinery a powerful tactical weapon.
Due to the aircraft's inability to operate as efficiently at lower altitudes, the B-47 was retired after only 10 years, and the B-58 Hustler was introduced. The B-58 was capable at flying at supersonic speeds.
The Air Force had become landlord of the fastest bomber in the world.
In 1963, it flew 8,028 miles from Tokyo to London in 8 hours and 35 minutes, an average of 938 miles per hour. The Air Force's current active inventory of strategic bombers include the B-1 Lancer, B-2 Spirit, and the B-52 Stratofortress. The B-1 is capable of carrying the largest conventional payload of both guided and unguided weapons in the Air Force's inventory. Comparatively, the B-2 utilizes stealth and aerodynamic technology, while the B-52 is capable of flying at high subsonic speeds at altitudes up to 50,000 feet and launching the largest array of weapons. Over the course of 60 years, the bomber completed more than 100,000 sorties.
This is Navigator, coming up on EIP in 1 minute.
In addition to supporting ground tactical operations, B-52s were used to interdict enemy supply lines in Vietnam and Cambodia. The Stratofortress could neither be seen nor heard from the ground as they released their bombs. Updates to the B-52 will extend its lifespan beyond 2040, solidifying its role as the backbone of the Air Force's manned strategic bomber force.
Strategic bombers have the ability to carry almost any weapon the Air Force has to offer. In the past, they've been used to absolutely devastate targets. They still have that ability, but with the way modern combat has evolved, precision is the name of the game. With the destruction these aircraft can bring to bear, just the mere presence of them is enough to change the enemy's mind.
Bombers represent our ability to rapidly project power from CONUS, from the United States. It is one of our most flexible and visible power projection tools that the President has at his fingertips, and it gives him options. Bombers represent our ability to project power which other countries on the planet don't have.
Our enemies know that we have that capability with a low observable bomber to just show up at any point over their airspace and hold their targets at risk. So to actually know that one showed up for whatever the case may be really sends a message from the U.S. saying that we're not playing around. Something needs to change, or you need to do something differently, or we're gonna show up with this asset. You're not gonna know when, and it's not gonna be good.
Bombers have massive payload carriage capability as well as a combat range that exceeds any fighter out there, which allows them to be that intercontinental power projection tool. When we move a fighter squadron, it's a big deal, but it's a regional kind of threat. When a bomber moves, the enemy watches. The enemy keeps track, and the adversary keeps track of all our bomber movements. So it is a tool to message for both the combatant commanders and the president.
The U.S. has 3 strategic bombers, the B-1, B-2, and B-52. They all have unique capabilities that they bring to the fight, but when you need to deliver ordnance without the enemy ever knowing that you were there, that's where the B-2 shines.
Well, the B-2 offers us that flexible option in a world where our enemies are continually developing new and better air defense systems. And with those systems, it basically keeps our older systems and more legacy aircraft at bay. We still need that ability to fly in and hold their targets of value at risk in a highly denied area, and that's what the B-2 provides with its low observability capabilities.
As if being the world's only stealth bomber wasn't unique enough, fewer than 1,000 airmen have ever flown in one.
Everybody that gets to fly in the B-2 is provided a Spirit number via Northrop Grumman. So from the very first pilot to our later guys that came after me, you have a number saying, hey, in my case, I was the 602nd person to fly in the B-2. So it just kind of puts in perspective how few people total over the lifespan of this aircraft who've actually gotten to fly the aircraft.
While most of our bombers were designed with nuclear deterrence in mind, and that role is still very prevalent, their ability to carry massive payloads and deliver precision strike is being used around the world to support our combatant commanders and our allies with close air support.
In the current conflict, the B-1 brings a phenomenal conventional capability. We can employ guided weapons of various types. We do have a lot of experience integrating with other platforms, fighters, ISR, any other type of platform essentially that are vital to the strategic messaging that our combatant commanders are trying to articulate.
Well, it's scary. This jet can go supersonic, which means it can get there in a matter of an hour or two, as opposed to a B-52, which sometimes it could take as much as an entire day to get where it's going.
Of the 3 bombers, the B-52 is the oldest, but there's a reason it's still around. It's proven to be one of the most reliable jets in the U.S. inventory. So reliable, in fact, that some have been pulled out of the boneyard to be put back into service.
It's pretty cool. When we do stuff like that, we have to pull it out, we'll fly it here or to Tinker, do all the upgrades that have been done to the jet that hadn't been upgraded on that jet.
The reason we've pulled an almost 70-year-old bomber out of the boneyard is because of its ability to carry a massive payload of 70,000 pounds. To put that into perspective, the B-17s of World War II typically only carried 4,000 pounds. The B-52 can carry an array of munitions, including nuclear weapons.
50 years, you still have a B-52 because it's still a very viable platform. With that payload carriage, we can load anything on a B-52, pretty much. But it can also drive a long time before it needs another tank of gas. So it carries it, it drops the load off, and it comes back.
By the time all 3 bombing platforms are slated to retire, they'll be over 50 years old. To keep them capable, modernization becomes a top priority.
Every platform basically has modernization going on with it. The timelines established with those are either starting now and go through 2030s. Some are shorter, but they all are based on what the asset they're replacing needs to be done.
To keep it lethal, the bomber itself is the platform, but the defensive systems, the The offensive systems are, our bomb computers, the weapons themselves. We want to keep improving that capability so we're more lethal at all times. As long as we're a superpower, we're going to have bombers because it's our ability to project power, pure and simple.